Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you've been feeling just chronically exhausted, completely burned out, or carrying around this heavy, unshakable sense of anxiety, well, today's source material has an incredibly reassuring message for you. It's not a lack of willpower. It's really not because you aren't trying hard enough. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden biological roots of your burnout by exploring this fascinating concept called the cortisol embargo. And together, we'll see exactly how to biologically de-escalate that survival mind. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to logically plan your way out of feeling totally overwhelmed? And it just doesn't work, right? Honestly, it feels impossible. Well, that's because the answer to your exhaustion actually doesn't lie in your mindset. It lies in an incredibly powerful but completely outdated biological trap. You literally cannot just think your way out of chronic stress when your body is locked in a physical fight or flight loop. To help us break out of this loop, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The modern survival trap. 2. Why logic always fails. 3. Hitting the vagal brake. And 4. The overnight somatic reset. Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the modern survival trap. To really understand why we feel so exhausted today, we kind of have to look backward. Your brain is an absolute marvel. It is this incredibly sophisticated survival mechanism. But the core problem here is that this brilliant piece of biological machinery is basically running on ancient software, like software that hasn't had an update in 10,000 years. Back when your ancestors faced a physical predator, their bodies had to react instantly just to survive. But today, we face modern threats. A demanding text message from your boss, a sudden drop in your bank account balance, or just an endless, overwhelming to-do list. And here is the mind-blowing part based on our source material. Your brain processes these modern threats with the exact same alarm level as being hunted by a physical predator. It literally cannot tell the difference. So, when your brain perceives one of those modern threats, it instantly mixes up what the source calls the survival cocktail. Your adrenal glands just flood your bloodstream with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate instantly skyrockets, your digestion gets restricted, your immune system essentially shuts down, and oxygen is diverted straight to your muscles for quick escape. Now, this intense physical response is a brilliant design for sure, but it was only ever meant to be used for short, explosive bursts of life or death action. It was absolutely never meant to be a permanent state. And that brings us to the tragic reality of modern life. We are basically marinated in cortisol. Because our modern stressors, the emails, the finances, the social pressures, they never truly disappear, right? Your body never gets that biological all-clear signal. So you end up living in this chronic, low-grade state of fight or flight that simply never turns off. You're sitting at your desk, marinated in cortisol day in and day out. This constant chemical flood keeps a part of your brain called the amygdala totally hyperactive, which completely clouds your judgment, ruins your sleep, and just absolutely destroys your creative focus. Which leads us right into Section 2, why logic always fails. When we're trapped in that high cortisol survival loop, our very first instinct is usually to try and solve our anxiety by using logic. We try to mentally argue with our anxious thoughts. But that strategy is completely useless, and here's why. Your emotional brain has hijacked the control tower. Think about what's happening biologically for a second. Your body is physically screaming to your brain, "We are under attack." So your mind literally has no choice. It's forced to manufacture anxious thoughts to match the physical panic happening in your body. You just can't logically convince a brain that is drowning in cortisol that everything is perfectly fine. So what do? How do we break this chain of chronic stress? Well, we have to use a neuroscientific mechanism called somatic decoupling. This is an incredibly empowering concept. Somatic decoupling means you stop trying to fix your thoughts, and instead, you change the physiological state of your body first, which then forces the mind to follow suit. Essentially, you're changing the body's chemistry to change the brain's reality. By engaging in somatic decoupling, you are sending a biological software override directly down your vagus nerve. Now, we're going to talk about the vagus nerve more in just a second, but it's basically the primary highway of your calming parasympathetic nervous system. When you send a signal down this nerve, you're broadcasting a super powerful message to your brain: the threat is dead, the environment is perfectly safe. And the moment your body registers this physical safety, your adrenal glands immediately halt that cortisol production. And just like that, your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, creative part of your brain, comes right back online. That takes us to Section 3, hitting the vagal brake. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is the mechanical metaphor our source uses to visualize exactly how the nervous system operates. Think of your nervous system like a car. Adrenaline and cortisol act as the gas pedal, just flooring your body into survival speed. If you're experiencing chronic burnout, creative exhaustion, or severe anxiety, it basically means your vehicle has been running with the gas pedal slammed to the floorboard for years. But, every car needs brakes. And in your body, the brake pedal is the vagus nerve. The real problem with chronic burnout is that because the gas pedal has been stuck to the floor for so incredibly long, your internal brakes have worn out completely. They desperately need intentional, manual activation. We actually have to learn how to consciously step on that vagal brake. So how do we execute this? Well, here's the exact protocol for applying the vagal brake. First, you deliberately slow down your heart rate through your breathing. Second, you start practicing micro rests throughout your day. And third, you engage in deep, passive auditory relaxation, like listening to calming audio while you study or drift off to sleep. By doing these things, you're intentionally withdrawing your attention from those chaotic, high-alert digital feedback loops of the modern world. You are manually applying the brakes. When you apply those brakes and the external noise finally fades, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Your blood pressure drops, your muscles release all that defensive tension, and your brain stops constantly scanning for threats. You transition out of the exhausting survival mode and you enter what the source calls creation mode. And guys, this is the elite tier of human functioning. This is the exact biological state where high-level solutions, profound breakthroughs, and effortless discipline are actually born. And finally, Section 4, the overnight somatic reset. This is where we map out the profound biological changes that occur when you allow your body to finally, truly rest and declare an absolute embargo on that high cortisol state. When you successfully apply the vagal brake and transition into sleep, you enter the restorative delta wave state. Now, this isn't just getting some shut-eye, this is a highly active biological de-escalation. Your body begins a vital process of chemical detoxification. All that residual stress, the cortisol, the adrenaline from the day, it is systematically drained from your neural pathways. You're literally cleaning the ancient software overnight. So, the crucial point is this. Let these principles sink deep into your cellular memory. You do not need to fight, force, or struggle to get your life back on track. The universe functions on order, and order requires a calm, sovereign mind. By practicing somatic decoupling, you're resetting your chemical baseline entirely. You're rebuilding your nervous system from a position of absolute peace, resilience, and unshakable power. I want to leave you with a final provocative question. Now that you understand the biology of your burnout, and you actually have the tools to declare a cortisol embargo, will you walk into the world tomorrow as a reactive survivor, constantly triggered by ancient alarms? Or will you apply the vagal brake, recalibrate your nervous system, and step forward as a deliberate creator? The biological power is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in